School iShine Talent Camp Season 5 Media Event. I am Rica Peralejo Bonifacio, mom of one, and I will be your host for today. Now, before we talk about the bigger and better iShine 5, we have to know the rationale behind this talent search. So we have invited experts to help us learn more on what we call the crucial window of talent development. Have you heard of that? That there is such a thing, that there's a crucial window of talent development, and that this stage actually entails something for the child's development and also a kind of support required from the parents. Also with us are past iShiners with their parents and 3 of the 4 amazing mentors of this year's iShine 5. Nako, excited ako because I've worked with these people before, at least 2 out of 3. We have teacher Jercel Tapatsi, which is, she's responsible for my dancing moves before. I'm pretty sure she's famous, you know her, and I'm so glad to have worked with her before. And we also have teacher Rico Blanco. They're both from the stage camp. So, hi Rico! I've worked with him also before. Kapag hindi nyo lang alam, talented din ako. Kumakanta rin naman, tsaka sumasayaw ko before. But we can forget about that na now, no? And then we also have teacher Robert Alejandro of the Art Camp. Thank you so much, teacher Robert, for being with us. So they will be sharing with us their experiences as mentors. Now we'll have the program proper to be followed by lunch, but if you have questions, you actually have paper and pens on your tables and you can write them down, because later, after each segment, so we're going to talk to the experts and the mentors, you can actually throw in your questions and they will answer it for you. Sila, hindi ako yung sasagot. They will answer it for you. So, are we great? Are we having a great morning so far? Are we all awake?
Yes!
Parang inaantok pa tayo, ha? Okay, we're all awake now, but before we do anything else, let's officially begin. And to welcome us to this event, we actually have Group Product Manager for Premium Growing Up Milks, Ms. Rachel Thompson. Taking the time this morning to be with us today. So for more than 20 years, Promil Preschool's parenting philosophy has always been to partner with parents in helping their child's talent to full potential. The Promil Preschool's heritage is built upon the belief that in order for a child to excel, he needs proper care from parents, proper nutrition, and proper support. Promil Preschool nurtures a child's gifts through a unique combination of brain and body-building nutrients, which facilitates learning during the crucial years of talent development. However, our partnership with parents go beyond providing their child nutritional supplements. We create other avenues, such as iShine, to help parents develop their child's talents in the best way possible. We acknowledge that proper nutrition and eager parental support are crucial for a child to achieve excellence. Thus, iShine was developed to encourage parents to hone and share their child's gifts, which we aspire to eventually become an inspiration to other parents to do the same. iShine aims to inspire children to realize their potential, build their confidence, and develop their talents at a young age. Parents want to give their child every opportunity to succeed. We are one with them on this, as we, Promil Preschool, believe that every child is born with a potential for greatness. Again, thank you once again for coming, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you, Ms. Rachel. Thank you for explaining that to us, the Promil Preschool's parenting philosophy and iShine. I like what you said, that every kid is born with a potential for greatness. Do we believe that? And if we have enough people believing that in that as well, then the chances are our children will succeed, diba? Parang, just think of our parents or the people who believed in us also, diba? We are here today because there were people who actually took their time to hone that, to actually develop that in you. And as I have mentioned earlier, there's such a thing as the crucial window of talent development. Actually, hindi ko pa ito narinig before. Dito lang talaga sa iShine ko doon matututunan. Which presents itself during a certain period of time in one's childhood years. This limited time is supposed to be maximized by parents
to support the interests of their child. And to delve deeper on this and to tackle the crucial window of talent development and its implication to child development, we actually have developmental behavioral pediatrician Dr. Jocelyn Eusebio.
So first of all, thank you for having me. It is really an honor and a privilege to be talking to you about the passion of my work, which is dealing with children's development and behavior. So I was tasked today to talk about learning and of course talent development in children. And I want this to be interactive as possible so that if there are any questions along the way and you would like to interrupt me, you're free to do so. We're in a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step that applies to learning. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about learning and a very brief review of the famous cognitive theory by Piaget. Then I will be speaking about the so-called window of opportunity. And then what are the ways and or different approaches by which a child learns? What are the foundations for learning and ways to strengthen it? And towards the end, give you key messages that each family or each parent should know when we speak about child development and learning. So what is the definition of learning? It simply means to gain new knowledge and skills. And take note that learning is so personal. And it is affected by the following: culture, experiences, likes, and dislikes. We cannot discount the fact that early learning would lead to positive benefits, not only early in life, but even as the child grows older, because this is tantamount to having a higher educational level and academic achievement. The other important thing that we always have to remember is that all children are born learners. However, each child would approach learning according to his own or her own way, figuring out what works best for him or for her. But the other important thing is that true learning will happen with a strong foundation. Well, learning and cognition are often interchanged because if we take a look at the definition of cognition, learning is a part of cognition, together with attention, memory, language, reasoning, problem solving, and even decision making. Well, as I have mentioned, one of the famous theories on cognitive development is that of Piaget. And simply to put it, Piaget acknowledges the fact that cognition or cognitive development is the product of environment and genetics. And according to him, there are 4 distinct stages in the development of cognition in children, namely sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete, and formal. So you have here a list and a description together with the ages by which these stages normally appear in a child. But simply put, during the sensory motor stage, the message here is that children learn making use of all their different sensory organs, which include vision, hearing, taste, smell, touch, and so on. And then when the child is in the pre-operational stage, wherein now he is able to verbalize, to make use of language, to represent the things around him. That is the way a child learns already at this point in time. And in the concrete operational stage, the child is very much dependent upon the existence of things around him. So this is actually what I see is what I get and what I learn. But in the formal operational stage, the child goes beyond what he sees. So it is in this stage that the child already manifests what we call abstract thinking and so on. Now, the question that was posed to us earlier on is, what age do kids learn best? And therefore, this boils down to knowing the so-called window of opportunity or the so-called sensitive period. And this normally happens during the first 6 years of life. Because of the fact that brain development is at its maximum during this period, especially during the first 2 years of life. That is why when a child comes into a clinic, and I'm sure you as parents notice that the clinician often measures the head circumference of the child. Why is the doctor measuring it? Because the head circumference of a child is a reflection of brain growth. And the maximum increase in brain growth happens actually during the first year of life. You have an increase of 10 centimeters from birth during the first year of life. After that, it will just like be 2.5 centimeters every year, or even half a centimeter every year thereafter. So much so that when the child reaches the age of 6 to 10, the weight and or size of your brain already resembles that of an adult. So having said that, again, the sensitive period or the window of opportunity happens during the first 6 years of life. It is the time wherein neuronal circuits grow. And this is even more when there are stimulation in the environment where the child is. Alright? So again, this is the so-called window of opportunity. And take note that the sensitive periods wherein the different areas of development are maximized, wherein stimulation are needed, are as follows. So during the first year of life, it should be the stimulation of the different sensory organs that I have already mentioned, which include vision, hearing, and so on. And during the second year of life, take note that language and higher cognitive functions would eventually follow. So once again, children are born learners. However, they are very fast in learning during the so-called window of opportunity, which corresponds to the first 6 years of life. Now, take a look at reading. Learning how to read, it says here that when it comes to learning to read, the earlier the better. Is that right? It says here no. Why? Because the thing that would make you become a good reader first is for you to be able to acquire language. And therefore, reading to your child at an early age would enhance the language development of the child and not his reading. Alright? So, indirectly, yes, because language development is tantamount to having a good reading. What about math? Alright? So when a child begins to count, it doesn't mean to say that he is very good in math already. What is more important is for this child to know what we call the symbol or the representation of, for instance, 2. It doesn't mean just 2 in his mind, but it would mean 2 objects. Alright? So, in order for a child to learn math, it is not as simple as asking him to memorize the numbers, to count the numbers, but for you to teach him to know that these two would mean two objects. All right? What about talent development? All right? Talent can appear in any form, but just like what was mentioned again by Rika, it may need drawing out in order to shine. That's why you have ishine, right? So what are the tips for tapping and nurturing a child's gift? Okay? First, you have to be observant. Be on the lookout. And take note that initially it is not the child who will recognize his own talent. It is the people around him. But it could be a sign that she's an artist in the making. Second, you have to provide opportunities. So there should be an environment which includes you as the parent or the caregiver that will provide stimulation in order to nurture the talent or the gift of the life of the child. And in nurturing the identified talents, you have to be encouraging, motivating, and you have to look out for opportunities for the child to demonstrate his skills. Just like it is as simple as when you are in a party and of course your child would like to sing, let him do that. Yes? And you also need to provide a background enrichment. You can bring him to a concert, to a theater show and so on, Broadway show, if your child seems to be interested in those areas. Now, what about playing a musical instrument? It says here, again, the question is, when is the best time to start learning an instrument? Studies have shown that kids need to hear both rhythm and pitch sounds in early childhood in order to wire their brain circuits. Consensus is that intensive exposure to music before about the age of 10 is critical to wire a musical brain. What about sports and dance? If parents foresee a sporting future for their child, the key is to acquire a wide repertoire of fundamental movement skills like locomotion and whole body coordination from the toddler years. But you should also provide an environment where the child can move and practice such talent. So next now is, how do children learn? Babies and children are considered to be like scientists because they learn by observing and experiencing the world around them. They learn by watching, by listening, and especially by doing. So they do this best in an environment again which is interesting and where they feel loved and safe. And where do they experience that? In the family where they belong. Alright? Now, all children, as mentioned, go through a number of stages. But as we always say, each child is unique. And therefore, there are differences between children within each stage. That's why we always tell parents, do not ever compare your child because it's not right. Because each child is unique. So here are some approaches to learning by children by being curious and eager, developing self-confidence, engaging in risk-taking and problem-solving behaviors, not necessarily going into drugs, right? Having good concentration and focus, being persistent, being imaginative, creative, and even inventory at that, and with wonder and delight. You see, when children have to learn, they need to enjoy also what they're doing. So very briefly, how do children learn? By being curious and eager as early as during the first few months of life. Again, you see them to show interest in themselves. To a certain extent, they are looking at their fingers, at things around them, but most especially on the face of the caregiver or the mother. Okay? So they react to new sights, sounds, taste, smell, touches, and so on. And as they become mobile, as toddlers, they explore in the environment around them. But sometimes we as parents, we tend to, what? Stop them because we're afraid that they might get hurt. So that should not be the case. Allow them to explore because that is one way for them to learn, but making sure that they are in a safe place. And then, what about learning by developing self-confidence and engaging in risk-taking and problem-solving skills? Just imagine a child who is just beginning to walk. Isn't it that no matter how much he stumbles, he would get up? Because he has to do it over and over again in order to repeat, to be able to master it. And that is what we mean developing self-confidence. All right? And this also holds true with children who are beginning to play with puzzles and building blocks. So no matter how many times it will fall down, then the child continues to put one block on top of the other. And then you need to concentrate as a child in order to learn something. So you have to focus and pay attention to people and things around you. It is as simple as when you're teaching your child how to say mama. The child should be looking at your face and your lips while you are doing that to him. And this holds true again when the child becomes older as he works on puzzles. Yes, you need to focus on these things. Okay? And you need also to be imaginative. Isn't it that as babies, they try out a variety of sounds? Yes. And then even facial expressions at that. Okay? And when they reach about 3 to 5 years of age, they engage in what we call a make-believe or imaginative play. Okay? And as I've mentioned, in order for children to enjoy learning, they should be happy with what they're doing. Okay? So that's it. So what then are the foundations for learning? These are tantamount to the so-called developmental domains, which include physical development, under which you have gross motor and fine motor, language, cognitive, personal, and social. So all of these areas of development are connected to one another and therefore are equally important. Again, early childhood education is the essential foundation for all that follows, and that family members are a child's first and best teachers. Always put that in mind. So we as parents have a very big responsibility in being able to provide this to our children. So to end, I have these key messages about child development and learning that each parent, a family, and the community should have the right to know as well. This is just a reiteration of what I have mentioned already, that the early years, especially the first 3 years of life, are very important for building the baby's brain. And therefore, if you want to maximize the development of a child, all the necessary stimulation and
as a classroom teacher. I've been in education for 31 years, and I've actually met former students who did not seem too talented when they were in preschool, who've grown up to become talented individuals. I I also have met students who were talented when they were in preschool, but however did not hone their talents. So what I'm going to share today complements very much the informative talk that Dr. Eusebio gave. It's what we do for kids that goes beyond developing talent. Now, there's a lot of talk now about what makes children successful. If you are a parent, I'm certain that what you want is success for your kids. So whether your child has talent or your child is still, exploring, these are guaranteed to make your child successful in the future. Most of my talk is going to come from this book, so it's a good resource for parents to look at. It's available in bookstores. It's called Mind in the Making, Life Skills by Ellen Galinsky. She's actually a researcher and a psychologist, and she identified 7 essential life skills. And these are the life skills. And I'm going to explain a little what that looks like in the school setting, in the preschool setting, and also how you parents might be able to enhance it in your own children. Okay, so the first is executive function or focus and self-control. This is the 21st century, and one of the characteristics of the 21st century is everything is so fast. It's actually so difficult to focus, and it's so difficult to pay attention. So we must help children develop this ability in order to be able to set goals and to reach goals. In order to develop focus and self-control, one must be able to not only focus, but remember, or use your memory to remember rules and also information. To be able to develop this, you also have to have what we call cognitive flexibility, or the ability to adapt to different situations, and also to self-control. So here are some examples from the preschool. Guess what? Bahay-bahayan. That's one of the best ways to develop cognitive flexibility. Why? Why is it one of the best ways? If you are joining a dramatic play of kids, let's say I'm the little boy over there, and the classmate says, we're only making siomai today in the dramatic play area. And then the little boy has 2 choices: to join in making siomai with the others, or to decide, I'm not going to play with you today. So which is the more successful idea? It's actually to join and make siomai with the rest of the kids, or maybe pretend to be a neighbor who's making chicharon. So that's cognitive flexibility in dramatic play. This is a picture of our preschool, and when the kids are at the preschool, they have many choices, but we don't let the children loose with the choices. We ask them, what's your plan for today? And the child will say, I want to work in the blocks area, I want to work in the art area, so on and so forth. And so knowing the child's plan, the teacher monitors how the child implements the plan. And after the work time, we ask, what were you able to make in the blocks area? Oh, it fell down. How do you think you can make it differently next time to make it better? So we help children make plans, implement, and reflect on their plans. Here's another example of self-control. Self-control is necessary when we feel very emotional. And so this is what we call a problem-solving wheel. When you're feeling upset or angry, you can do any of these to be able to overcome your heightened emotions. Problem solving also happens cognitively, or when you're trying to figure something out. So if in the center you don't know what to do, you just don't give up. There are many, many options that you can do. I blocked off some of the words just to make it more appropriate for the preschool kids. Okay, so tips for parents. Remember that you have to help your kids feel in control. When they're feeling frustrated, when they're feeling angry. And one of the worst ways to do that is when they're upset, you tell them, stop crying now. You have to help the child process why the child is feeling upset, identify the emotion, and find strategies to help that child feel better eventually. You also want to help children play games with attention. May I ask the ishine kids to play something with me? May I ask you to play something with me? It's very simple, okay? I'll just say, when I say dog, you say meow. When I say cat, you say, okay? Okay, ready? Got the rules? When I say dog, what will you say? And when I say cat, dog. Dog. There you go. Cognitive flexibility. Cat. Okay, cognitive flexibility. Cat. There you go. I heard a dog. Cognitive flexibility. There you go. Okay, so those are games that you play with kids that have rules, but rules that are also unusual, that help them switch in their focus. And then today, please turn off the TV. And I guess in the case of many children, turn off the iPad, turn off the computers. But if it's going to be on for an hour a day, Doctora left already, she's going to tell you an hour is a lot. Please help the child focus in using. So join your child in conversation about what is being seen on the television or played in the iPad. And then I mentioned playing games with rules and take part in helping children make plans for the day. The next is perspective taking. Now, why is perspective taking a life skill? But it goes beyond that because kids who are talented and other children who are still discovering their talent communicate through various means. No? So, for example, this child has been given the opportunity to communicate in many ways. And although your child might be gifted or talented in one area, please do not stifle the child and just hone that area of talent. Your child is still young. There are many possibilities for your child. And so please encourage your child to communicate through various experiences. Another tip that I have is what I call extra talk, not business talk. You know that the classroom teacher is new when the teacher asks questions that require only one answer. But if a teacher takes real interest in the child and says, tell me what you need today, what was hard about making it, how can we fix it? Are you proud of yourself? When there's a conversation that's going on, that's called extra talk. It makes the child a better communicator and makes the child a better thinker about the work that he or she is doing. Reading is always excellent for kids to be able to be better communicators because they see models of communication. When do you stop reading to your child? You don't. You don't stop reading to your child. When your child is able to read, take turns reading and share the joy of the book together. So I do have students in my school who might be 12 or 13 and still are read to or they share in reading with their parents. Okay, so when we talk with kids, have a real conversation with kids. Look at their eyes, touch them, and join in the conversation. We don't want to always respond by saying, because then your child will know that there is no communication and will not, of course, respond to you. And then have conversations at mealtime. This actually comes from research. The children with the greatest vocabularies tend to have parents and families who converse during mealtime. And they talk about many, many things at mealtime. And as Doctora said earlier, having a good language base is helpful in reading. And so we also must read to the child. Okay, making connections is actually what makes a person intelligent. This is the age of Google. It's so easy to pick up information, no? But it's the person who puts the information together who's actually the more intelligent person. So help them make connections in interesting ways. This child on my right knew that a magnet could pick up paper clips, but what about through a water bottle? And he was identified as gifted at 3. Can you imagine if he was not a self-engaged learner? He would not be the giant that he is in music. And we allow a person to have self-engaged learning by giving the child opportunities for learning. These kids wanted to learn about trees, and so they look for trees in the school, they look for trees in the neighborhood, they compared trees, they looked in the garden, they planted plants, they grew their own plants, they looked at a farm, and they told people about all of their findings. So parents can help kids become that way by setting goals and other tips there. And as Dr. had mentioned, be emotionally responsive, no? Respond to their interests and strengths. My last slide is this. No? It's from another lady who writes about success. And she said that what we do with little kids today will matter in 20 years. If you don't get it right, if you don't help your children grow in those areas of success, and there will be a crisis. So I hope that our children will grow in the 7 essential life skills. Thank you very much.
Time to shine, time to dance at night. Oh, let it shine. Time to add some colors to your world. Time to play the music and be heard.
This is Ryan Gavia. Studies show that children who take up music education courses end up as better human beings, as better citizens, and they can contribute to society. Why is that so? And this is not only because they become musicians, but a lot of them are not musicians. In learning how to play the piano, or learning how to sing with a choir, or in learning how to dance with your own school dance group and or your school band, you get to learn what discipline and hard work is all about. So I'm very, very excited and happy because we are launching the iShiners project today, and I'd like to congratulate all the mentors. This is a great project because music education is suddenly available to all the Filipino children and their parents too. So congratulations, and we wish you all great success.
Alright, thank you, Mr. C. Mr. Ryan Kedyab. You know, when I was younger, alam niyo pa ba yung siguro naman alam niyo pa yung Ang TV Kids, di ba? We were enrolled in this Ryan Kedyab School of Music. And we would, go there every week, train for an hour with really great teachers. There's a piano in the room, and then sing, vocalize, do all of these things. And it really helped me a lot. Some of the things that I learned during that time, siguro window of opportunity talaga yun, crucial for talent development. I am able to take with me up until this day. I'm actually, I hold concerts at home with my son. He's my only audience, and he benefits from that training. Okay, enough about myself. But I want to call on, asking them to join me on stage, the mentors for iShine 5, Teacher Jercel Dapat C, Teacher Rico Blanco, and Teacher Robert Alejandro. Welcome, guys! Okay, I can sit here, and you guys take the couch. So Teacher Jercel and Teacher Rico are for the stage camp, and then heart camp for Teacher Robert. Let's give them a hand, our mentors. I'm personally very excited for the kids of iShine 5 because I've gone through training under Teacher Jercel, and imposibleng hindi ka gumaling kung kasama mo talaga siya. Kasi you can see like what Mr. C said, discipline and hard work, kasama yan in honing the talent. And also Rico, the only one that I don't really know is Teacher Robert, but I'm pretty sure that they will get a lot from the three of you. So let's start with, I want to ask, how did you discover your passion or your gifting? So yours is dancing, yours is music, yours is art. Paano nyo unang na-discover yon? When?
Well, I can't really determine when.
Okay.
I can't. I was asked before about this, and I said, You know, when I was younger, I didn't even know that there are people who cannot dance or who did not, you know, love dancing. I was just dancing and dancing and dancing, and I
What
didn't
did you
know that
dance
there
to?
were. What do you mean?
What would you dance to? Like radio, ganon?
Like
Or-
any music. When I hear any music, I will just move to it. And I didn't know that there are other people who doesn't like dancing or who doesn't know how to dance.
Ang galing, no? Na parang for them, it's so natural, but it's actually a
But it's
good
actually the parents talaga eh, who can identify.
thing. How did your
their
parents
passion.
do it with you? Like,
Well, maybe my mom really noticed that I was super likot. Sobrang likot na bata. And at age 8, she brought me to YWCA, that was in Taft, to enroll me in a jazz class. A year after, there was a break. And then, at 10 years old, she brought me to Metropolitan Dance Theater. So that's when I started dancing all forms of dance. Jazz, ballet, tap, Hawaiian.
pati Hawaii.
Asian.
But that's true,
Yeah,
no? Kasama yun before.
Pero yun yung dancing. But before that, they thought magiging Cecily Kad ako. I used to compete for piano at age
Oh.
9.
So you can
that's
actually
when-
be multi-talented din kasi. You can do a lot of things.
Yun
yeah.
nga yung mga dinidiscuss natin kanina, just expose your kids to a lot of
Correct.
things. Yeah.
That's great. How about you, Rico?
I'm the same. I don't really remember when it started, but my parents do. So they told me that I still wasn't able to walk, but they put me on top of the table and I just sing some Spanish songs.
Spanish songs?
Yeah, I think to impress my lola. I don't know. But
How old were you then?
and more than I couldn't walk yet. So how old was that? 2, 1, 2.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're 1. Yeah, and I was just like
Parents
copying,
were
I
trying
guess,
to,
copying the melodies and maybe the sounds of things. I couldn't talk yet, but I was singing like that ABBA song. And I think more than just, and to add to that, I wasn't just singing. I was singing and dancing and drawing and painting, and it was
Yes.
play for me. Like the walls of my parents' room was my museum, and every day when they came home from work, my artwork will be all over. And I would dance to songs I was hearing in my head. Like I would make up music in my head, and like I remember when I was I moved to a new school in OB also, but when I moved from Santa Ana to Green Hills, so I was about 8 or 9. That my classmate called me, "Hey, you're the guy who always dances while he's walking." So I just realized, oh, I do that. That was the first time I realized that I was dancing all the time, like while I was walking, and there were songs in my head.
See, that's why it's very important that someone has to call it out of you, no? Parang, oh, you do this, and then you realize, oh yeah, I do that.
Yeah, and then they had me do the dance battles every recess and lunchtime versus the higher grades.
Amazing. Okay, someone who has learned to sing before talking, di ba? How about you, Teacher Robert? When was the first time?
The same answer. I can't really tell, but I know even before school, I was already drawing on the walls, stuff like that. Yeah, don't do that, but yeah.
So, pag yung mga anak nyo nag-drawing sa mga dingding nyo, baka artist. Okay.
Malamang.
Let's give them materials.
Give them materials.
Sorry.
Okay.
Give materials, give sketchbooks, notebooks.
How did your parents encourage you? Like, what did they do?
Well, they didn't encourage me really because we come from a family of all artists.
Oh.
We were starting we have a family business, Pape Mel Roti.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we were starting the business, so all the materials were there. So we would just draw and
Exposure,
create.
ano?
Exposure, exactly.
Sometimes wala ka ng choice. Because you're surrounded by artists.
As an alternative, I think my parents couldn't really buy us the traditional materials. So my dad would give me cartons, boxes of shoe boxes, and random, stuff that the carpenters left
Yeah.
at home, and I would make my own, toys. My friends had the Tonkas, the made in the USA
Right.
trucks, but I would make my own, like up to this day, I love carpentry. I love fixing and creating stuff. I think making songs is
Similar
that
to
helped me,
me.
yeah, because parang it's
You're
constructing
building
things,
and you're
yeah.
constructing things. Amazing. Actually, there are some studies like that, no? Na parang it's better if you give them like not so glittery, shiny stuff because the imagination works better. O, di ba? Nakita niyo naman yung mga mentors natin. But shift gears a bit, I want to ask, what made you want to be a part of ishine?
Oh, well, for me, this is an opportunity for me to share the gift of dance. I have a dance school. It's a G-Force Dance Center. We teach kids as young as 5. Paminsan, yung mga parents, nag-i-insist talaga, eto 4, pwede na to teacher, pwede na. And then I would tell them, let me assess first. So pag sumali yung bata, may mga talagang makikita mo ahead.
Yes.
Like movers na 3 years old pa lang, movers na. So pag ganon, pwede na, nakakasunod, pwede na. Pwede na natin isama sa mga dance classes. At tama po yung mga na-discuss kanina, never ending ang learning. So ang mga students po namin I have a student who is 56 years old.
Wow!
56. So,
Tuloy
tuloy-tuloy lang po.
all